All right, let's talk about using AI to write a book. And this is something that's really interesting because if you were to go ahead and pull up ChatGPT, Claude, DeepThink, any one of these AI things and try to write a book, you would run into the following problems. You would sell it to write a book and it would write these really short paragraphs, chapters, and it just wouldn't work out. Now, here's the trick to writing a book with AI. You need to learn how to write a book the regular way. I've written 15 books the regular way. So one of the things that I do is come up with the name of the book, I come up with a table of contents, and I come up with a central thesis of what the book's going to be about before I write anything. Now, how do you write a book using AI? First of all, you got to think like an author. AI is just a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool. It's like a hammer. It's like a machine. It's just a tool. And the better off you're at using the tool, the better results you're going to get. So one of the things that you have to do is understand that you have to think like an author before you begin writing your book with AI. Now, this is where most of the books I've written have been how-to books. I have written a few dirty books, erotica, and I don't know how AI does with that because I haven't used that to write that book. Knowing what I know about AI, and this is the thing, AI gets super sensitive around sexually explicit topics and verbiage. It will literally shut down. So I don't think it will be able to write an erotica book if it got dirty or used certain language. However, here's the process, and this is one of the things that I'll be teaching in the intellectual property school. Number one, you must think like an author. That's the skill set that you're missing if you're trying to write a book using AI. So once again, central thesis, table of content. Now, this is huge right here, huge. It was easy for me because I've got writing samples oh my God, I got literally a few thousand writing samples. So I just shoved my writing samples in the ChatGPT. It's like, hey, here's a presentation of my writing sample. I want the books that you create for me to look and sound like this. And there's a lot of things you could do. You could do straight line where it'll do a chapter and it'll be just straight line, or you could do broad paragraphs. It will do exactly what you tell it to do. But the key thing is, and this is the trick, you gotta think like an author to make it really work. Because typically, if you know what you're doing, you could write a book in an hour. Start to finish, 1 hour. Now, part of this is prompts. Now, I have become a prompt monster. I know how to give really big prompts, and there's times that AI will start messing up. And I'll see it's messing up and I'll say, okay, let's go back and redo this because that's not what I want and it doesn't look good. And it's, oh, thanks for catching that, and then we'll straighten it up. So AI is not 100% foolproof, but this is why you gotta think like an author. Once you start thinking like an author and doing things and examining it, it just opens up a whole different ball game. Now, one of the things is central thesis. You need to come up with a good idea. Now, I say that as if it's simple, but if you've never written a book, this could be one of the hardest things you've ever done. To me, I'm just like, oh, this is the ideal, this is one right back. Because I've done it 15 times. Literally, I've written 9 ebooks in the last 4 weeks. 9 ebooks ranging from 15,000 to 35,000 words. And literally, it's a process, and I have to train myself how to do it, because here's the thing, you write the book, then you have to read it to make sure there's not some crazy stuff. And this is something else too. A lot of people say that ChatGPT will create plagiarism, right? If ChatGPT is going off of your central narrative in your general thesis, it will not create plagiarism because this is coming from you. So one of the big things that you have to understand is you have to think like an author. I know I'm being really repetitive because that's the key. The key isn't like ChatGPT, write this book about puddles or write this book about decluttering. It'll do it and it'll try and you will get a very crappy book. But if you know how to behave and think like an author, you can get an excellent book. My book, Dating the Woman You Will Marry, it's an excellent book. And it has my thesis, it has my imprint all over the book because I actually fed ChatGPT the central thesis. I fed it my writing samples. I think I've put in maybe 10,000 words in writing samples. So it looks like something that I wrote because I fed it my writing samples. Now, if you're a beginner, this is going to be your challenge. Number one, no writing samples. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a big, big problem. So if you want to write a how-to book, you need to go ahead and write the first chapter by hand, which could be 1,500 up to 5,000 or 6,000 words. You need to write that and then feed that into whatever AI you're using. I stick with ChatGPT because I use it 3 to 10 hours a day. And I haven't moved to Claude, I haven't moved to these other stuff, and I haven't moved to the AI that has agents that do things for you because I really don't need that at the moment. At some point in the future, I may need it, but right now at the moment. So number one, you got to sit down and create writing samples. I'm telling you, the more writing samples you have, the better the book will be because it will look and feel like you wrote it. So that's going to be key, and that's going to be hard because most of you who are writing a book you have no writing samples. Now, I would not feed it emails. I would write because like literally what you can do, and this could take a week or two, is every day sit down and write a chapter. Whatever you're thinking, however you think, however you put it, just write it, and then feed it to ChatGPT. It's like, this is my writing sample. I'm feeding this to you so you could see how I write, and this is the writing style that I want you to write my future book in. Very, very important. When you're using ChatGPT like this, I would recommend that you have a device that you're using that version of ChatGPT on. Like, I have ChatGPT on my iPad, I have it on my phone, and I have it on my computer. There are times I literally had 3 different distinct conversations going on. So wherever you're writing your book, you want to keep that congruent. You don't want to be like feeding it other questions. You want to keep it congruent because if you keep it congruent, ChatGPT will remember what you're talking about and it will be easier and more effective for you. But the whole thing is, I would say off the top of my head, if you were to dedicate yourself to writing samples for a month, coming up with maybe 10, 15,000 words that you can feed to ChatGPT, and then you learn how to organize a book. Number one, central thesis. Number two, table of contents. Those 2 things must be done before you consider yourself an author or writing a book. Because if you don't do those 2 things, like one of the things that I learned years and years ago, you sit down, you start writing, you get lost. And once you get lost, it's hard to find your way back home. So essentially, to prevent that, I've come up with this methodology of setting up the book, knowing what now one of the things I'll do a lot, sometimes I will create the cover first. And this is really important. Like you do YouTube, it's better to create the thumbnail first. So I may create the cover. And sometimes with ChatGPT and Midjourney, you could create a banging cover after the fact. So that's on the table as well. But here's the thing. Now, this is for business books, how-to books, books that explain stuff. This, like, at the moment, because I don't really write fiction books, I don't really know. But I do know in the future, you will have an AI that will be able to write a fiction book and it will be flawless. So that's coming, if it isn't already here. But typically, if you were to train your AI for a month then have a central theme, then write your book. I think you will be good, but this is one of the things that I teach in the intellectual property school, because there's some other little fine details that make a huge difference. Because literally, I'll look at the clock and it's like, okay, it's 1 o'clock, I'll be finished with this book by 2. And the last book I wrote was a book about masculinity. It came out at 35,000 words, and it's a damn good book. So one of the things that you have to understand is, once you get into this, you can write a lot of books really, really quickly. I mean, it'll blow your mind, because my first book took me 3 months to write. I used to get up, I used to spend 4 hours writing Monday through Friday, and I would get 1,500 words. Sometimes if I was fluent, I would get 4,000 words. Same hours, but it just depends upon your production rate. And the thing is, I was like a dyed-in-the-wool writer. Regardless of how I felt, I would write every day, whether I felt like it or not. And that's how I got my book done. Because this whole notion of write when you're in the mood, that's gonna leave you pretty much messed up writing when you're in the mood. So the thing is, I've written 9 books and I haven't put them on Amazon. Once I put these books on Amazon, I'll do another video talking about putting these books on Amazon, because back in the day, I was selling my first book as a PDF on my website, urbanpackrat.com. A strange thing happened. I put the book on Amazon and I took the price up to $99 because Amazon be taking a big chunk, and I sold more books on Amazon. And I didn't really promote it. It's just like, hey, yeah, the book. I was like, hey, the book's on Amazon. That was kind of it. And more people bought the book from Amazon. And I remember I was calling CreateSpace. They've changed all this. It's totally different now. But lady was like, wow, you're selling a lot of books. That's what she said. Because the thing is, it should be different. And that's just why I would make a different video when I get to that point. But you can actually, this could create a system of books. Like if you were to write 15 books across certain topics and have them on Amazon, just depending, like once again, I'm not doing Amazon, so I don't really know how it works, so I'm not gonna speak on that. But you could go ahead and create good, nice, really incredible books very, very quickly. I don't think I will ever go back to writing a book the way that I used to. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. So if you want to write books and you want to have, like, this is something else too, and this is really, really important. If you are the founder of a methodology, so to speak, let's say maybe you have a real estate angle, or maybe if you write a book, you automatically become an expert in that field. One book, doesn't matter if it sells or not, you automatically become an expert in that field. So this is one of the things I've got going on. Right now, this is kind of the methodology. YouTube, because YouTube gets you free traffic. Then you can create an online course, you can create a book, you can create a coaching program, or you can create a podcast. And you can monetize these before YouTube says, hey, we're gonna throw you some money. My first book, I monetized it in 4 months of starting my YouTube channel. First month I made $600. Second month I made like $1,200. Third month I made like $2,000. Then the fourth month I was around $3,000. I kind of stayed at $3,000 for a few months. Then go down to May of 2010, it was like consistent at $5,000 a month. So back then I was making a livable income from my YouTube's free traffic and a book that I wrote. And this is mental money. So the beauty of mental money, and I'll share this, is I used to be in the storage auction game, and one of the worst feelings in the world is you have something good to sell and then you run out. Then you just have regular stuff. And nobody wants the regular stuff. They want the good stuff. So being able to create and manufacture my own inventory, that became a game changer for me. And it could be a game changer for you. So to get in, right now I do YouTube training every Thursday at 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. and walking people through how to set up their YouTube channels, because that's the foundational thing of intellectual property school, because you got to get traffic. And YouTube is the biggest source of free traffic on the planet. So the link will be right there, and I'll see you guys on the other side.